What's good in the whole YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing us another video. Today I'm bringing you guys a video on episodes 3 and 4, which are the final episodes of the Super Sentai Strongest Battle mini-series that they had going. These past two episodes came out two weekends ago and this past weekend. So episode 3 is called A Secret Revealed and episode 4 is called Final Battle Heading Towards Tomorrow. So episode 3, for starters, begins where the last episode ended, where Takeru was revealed to be underneath Gaisorg's mask, but at the same time, at that moment, we're pretty sure it's not going to be him, so we end up learning more about this. What happens is that Marvelous is taken out, but at the same time, we finally find out that Stinger was being followed by Doggy Kruger. What happens is that both Doggy Kruger and Stinger are undercover trying to find out information about the disturbance in the universe that's being affected through this Nemesis planet. And so what happens is they end up discovering this magical barrier that's preventing them from summoning any giant monsters. They also have this book that they're curious about that Stinger found initially, but Doggy uses his Master Morpher or whatever you want to call it, basically to scan the book and decode the text so that he's able to find out what it actually is talking about. The scan's gonna take a while, so then in the meantime, what happens is that Stinger and Doggy have to separate. Doggy has to go after. Doggy has to go find Stinger's team, while Stinger ends up having to continue to search, but also gets into a fight with some foot soldiers because they're in the area and they're snooping around and everything. And so he ends up being taken out at one point, and then Gaisorg gets involved in the against him, and he actually manages to take him out. What we do also see is that there is a fight going on between Team Martial Arts and another team, which I'm forgetting the name of them, but the teams are made up of I believe it was Gal Black, Ginga Blue, Time Red, and Rio Ranger. And what happens is that they end up fighting each other, and the potential situation is that Gaisorg would get involved, though he doesn't actually do so. What does end up happening is that from here, what we do end up seeing is that after this battle and everything, we end up having it where what do you call it? We also end up seeing Luca from Gokaiger. She's actually captured, and she originally was inhabited by Gaisorg. What we do also end up seeing is that eventually Doggy ends up finding Marvelous and brings him back, and he explains everything, and they end up staging. And what happens is that there's a fight that's supposed to occur between Doggy Kruger and Kagura. So we actually end up seeing the two of them fighting against each other. They show some moments with them inside of their helmets, although for some reason they have Doggy Kruger dressed without his jacket on, so he's basically naked, which makes no sense to me, because it's like he could just have his jacket out. I don't understand why they needed to take it off, but it is what it is. And we finally end up learning that Kagura's dream is to make a menu that will serve everyone, and it will make families come together and make new families and encourage people to eat their food and feel good and smile and happy and all that kind of stuff, because her family has a restaurant and all that. And again, that kind of information was added later on because of the fact that you have to watch Tokyuja for that, but you get my point. So anyway, what we do end up seeing is that they end up fighting. She proves that she's very strong. Gaisorg gets into a fight with her. And then what happens is that Yamato and Marvelous end up fighting against Gaisorg, and they end up doing really, really well against him, managing to actually defeat him in battle. And then it's revealed that underneath that outfit was Stinger in this case, meaning that something happened to Takeru, because Takeru was missing. What we do end up finding out is that under the mask, you actually see visions of past warriors and how Gaisorg gained captured different people, and we end up learning that Luca was one of them. And well, they end up. We already know at this point, but they end up learning this, and so they have to look for Luca. At the same time, what we do end up finding is they find out where Takeru is. They find out where all of them are. At one point, Marvelous even puts on Gaisorg's helmet, and then he gets embodied by Gaisorg, but it doesn't last long because they manage to remove it from him, and so that's something else that happens. What we do end up also finding is that Kagura gives Stinger the Master Morpher that Doug Kruger had, and he's able to find out what the message said from the book, and it's basically a spell to bring back Ultimate Great Satan. Ultimate Great Satan, is that what it's called? I believe that's right. Ultimate Great Satan, which was a monster from Jew Ranger, and Jew Ranger, for those who do not know, Jew Ranger is basically a reference to the Ultimate Great Satan is the monster from which in America was known as Lokar, and Rita is supposed to be a reference to Rita Repulsa from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and Lokar is from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So basically, they're basically referring to the major final monster that they had to fight using the Ultrazord from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, or in Japan, Ultimate Daijujin. So it's kind of a cool thing, though. In Japan, though, the original story had it where where like if you summon Lokar using the spell and everything, you could potentially lose your life. But in this case, they actually remove that whole effect, and instead it's based on getting these gems, which all the Sentai members are getting for her, basically. And then she's using that energy and those abilities to then cast a spell and awaken Ultimate Great Satan. And what happens is that following this, we have it where Stinger and Yamato try to stop Rita from casting her spell, and Stinger even explains the fact that, he asks why she is the way, why she's evil, and we learn this in episode 4, by the way. So this is episode 4 we're talking about. We end up learning why she's evil, which is the fact that she grew up on a planet where the planet had terrible resources. It was just not a good life, and there were heroes, but anyone that was a hero who fought for justice would end up creating more problems for children, where they would suffer and maybe even lose their lives. And so she always felt that with her planet and the conditions that she was under, that she wanted to do better, but and what she decided to do was she decided to turn evil to take out all those that had ruined her planet, and she became this evil force, and she's able to summon Gaisorg's armor, which is something we actually get to see, but that happens later on. What we do end up seeing, though, is that first she actually manages to summon the Ultimate Great Satan, and what we do end up seeing is that when she does that, she throws her staff like Rita would, or Bandora, if you know her from Japan. It's the Japanese equivalent, and it had all the same earth breaking up effects that we saw in Jew Ranger or Mighty Morphin. They mimicked each other, and so we actually get to see Lokar, which normally, in the past, we've seen Lokar as just a big head. In this case, they actually created a whole body for him, which is new and different, and I actually think it's better. So we get to see Lokar going up against the the 5 Sentai members from Team Weirdo, and what happens is that they each transform, which we get to see all of them transform, which is awesome. Then what happens is that they actually use their more powered up forms. So, for example, Marvelous uses the gold mode, which is something that was exclusive to, Guy from Gokaiger. We can see Kagura using her super mode. We see all of them using their super forms that they have, which is cool. We see Hyper Tokyo, we see a whole bunch of different ones. And again, the Hyper Tokyo 5-Go is the first time we've seen it outside of stage shows, which is important because those things have never happened before. So it's pretty noteworthy. Now, as far as things go in general, what we do end up seeing is that the 5 of them end up fighting against Ultimate Great Satan. Eventually, we end up seeing that Luca is helping the team by actually dealing with the magical barrier, but she has to deal with some foot soldiers, and they also are dealing with some foot soldiers, and the foot soldiers are from various seasons, so it's not like one season, it's like from several seasons. So what we do end up seeing is that all these different seasons are fighting, like all these foot soldiers are fighting against them, and they do manage to eventually destroy them all. Following this, what does end up happening is that once Luca destroys the barrier, at that point, Marvelous summons the Gokai Galleon, which allows him to do some additional damage to Ultimate Great Satan. And what happens is that the 5 members, with the help of the Go Ranger key, managed to do the Super Sentai Storm, which is an attack that's referencing something from Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger, which is the first Super Sentai season, where they each end up hitting a ball, and then in the end they do like a final attack which allows them to launch that ball with extremely powerful, with insane power at the enemy. So they actually do that, and we get to see like different Ranger silhouettes of all the Red Rangers from Go Ranger all the way up to Lupat. So it's very cool to see all that. And in the end, they manage to destroy Ultimate Great Satan. Then at that point, Rita is really angry, and she decides to take the form of Gaisorg. And what happens is that they're in a weakened state, so they really can't fight against Rita at this point. But what happens is that suddenly we see Real Soul Green and Real Soul Black, and the 2 of them end up actually fighting against Rita and using the Speed Soul and the Extend Soul to rescue Kagura, because they actually end up trying to fight her, and she does like a wimpy tactic, which is just to use someone else as a shield rather than actually showing that she's strong and she can fight on her own. Like she's like, that just shows that she's weak. And so she does this, and eventually the 2 of them manage to win against her. We see that Rita is then arrested by Stinger, and she will have to repent for her actions, or at least that's what Stinger hopes that she'll do, and then maybe she'll smile finally, because she's really not a happy character. She seems happy, but she's really like evil and twisted. If you watch the show, you get that impression very easily. Anyway, what we do end up seeing as well is that the Real Soldiers head off on their way, and at the same time, the 5 members of Team Weirdo end up rejoicing about the fact that they managed to defeat Rita and do right by saving everyone. And what happens is that at the same time, we see that Gaisorg's helmet is still there, and someone actually picks it up. So most likely, we'll find out whoever that is in Real Soldier, because the weapon that Gaisorg was using was based off of the Real Soul Ken from Real Soldier. So we'll get to see that probably some point in that season. And I'm curious as to who it will be. I have no idea right now. It could be a number of characters, but we'll have to wait and see. As far as things go as well, not only that, but we get to see at the very end that Real Soul Black ends up getting a Real Soul, which he says, now I have one for him. And what that probably is referring to is Real Soul Red, I'm guessing, just because the idea is that Real Soul Black and Real Soul Green are supposed to have already gained their abilities, as we see in the special, and Real Soul Red, Blue, and Pink are not supposed to gain theirs until episode 1 of Real Soldier. So in other words, they already have their abilities before the first episode, Black and Green. But Black will probably give it to him. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to finding out that and more, and it will be interesting to see from here what will happen. Again, Real Soldier comes out this upcoming weekend, so look forward to that. I'm very much so looking forward to it. I already have purchased online the Real Soul, like the Real Soul Changer, and also the 3 mechas for Real Soul Red, Blue, and Pink. I'm considering getting Black and Green, but I have not decided to do it yet, but I might do it. I'm tempted to get Real Soul Ken, but I'm not sure if I really want to do it either. I'm more inclined to get Real Soul Green and Black mechas versus getting Ryoso Ken, but I might get it just because of how cool it is and the sounds it has. So we'll see. I'll probably do a review about it once I get it. But again, supposedly they're not going to be releasing them in stores in Japan or anywhere until Saturday, which means that it will take some time for them to ship them to the United States because it's going to be in Japan. They're going to be having to ship them to the US and then ship them out. So we'll have to wait and see. I'll see you guys in the next video. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Sarah 71, and goodbye, guys.